Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Etse with another episode of The Company Next Door. Today, I have a special guest with me who is currently living down in Gilbert, Phoenix, Arizona, where the weather is...
Very, very hot. That's why we're up here in Utah right now.
Like 116-ish, yeah?
Yeah, I think it probably 114, 115 this week.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm sorry. And he is up here to escape the heat. And he spent a lot of time in Utah over the last many years, and we'll get into that. Traveling with his previous job, with his new company we're going to talk about today. A lot of it's online, and I don't know if you have clientele in Utah.
We do. Yeah,
Okay.
We do have some clientele.
Okay.
Probably more likely than not through Amazon.
Okay, awesome, cool. So that fits. It fits. The reason I said this was originally like an all Utah local show, but I'm kind of branching out because there's so many great entrepreneurs out there. So anyway, he knows the area. He's been up here a million times, but he's out to escape the heat. He's staying with us for a few days. It's like I had to get him in for an interview. This is Rusty Fife with the company Built Medical. Rusty, how are you, man?
Doing well. So glad to be here.
Yeah, man.
Like you said, just glad to get out of the heat. And I mean, let's be honest. Yeah, you and Sarah are some of the best hostess out there. So,
oh man. So look, I gotta ask you this before we jump in. It's for us. This has been a really hot summer. It's been the 90s. How is it out there right now? Like, is it
so nice?
Okay, yeah. To us, it's brutal. We're like, get inside, put the AC. Everybody lock the doors.
Isn't that funny how that happens?
Yeah.
You know, and you just, I mean, when you're in that kind of heat for that long, this feels amazing.
Well, that's awesome.
We get excited when it gets in the 90s. So.
It cools down to the 90s.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And you're waiting monsoon season.
We are.
Okay.
Yeah, we're hoping that comes soon. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite times in Arizona, as I was telling you earlier. But I love it. It's great.
Awesome. I definitely want to see it. So, Rusty is I don't know if if you call it the startup phase. He's in his, I think, third year in business. So startup-ish, but he's in that crucial time. You know, we all have seen the statistics of how many businesses fail in the first 5 years, about how difficult it is, the cash flow issues, the getting the clientele, the marketing, everything is hard the first few years. Is that fair to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is not an overnight, like, multi-million-dollar successful venture yet?
No way.
Okay.
And the funniest thing is after doing this for 3 years, and I think every entrepreneur would say this is, hey, everyone that told me it was going to be harder than you think, they're absolutely correct.
All right, good. That's good. We're going to talk about that. So let's jump in. So Rusty, that's what he's doing. So the company's about 3 years old. It's called Built Medical. They're based out of Gilbert, Arizona, but again, he's doing business around the country, possibly the world.
Country.
Okay.
Right
so
now we're just national.
Country. Okay,
yep.
Cool. But you are not from Arizona.
I'm not.
You back it up. You're actually in Orange County. Are you an Orange County boy?
I am originally from Southern California.
Okay.
And moved out of Southern California at 19.
So was your father, your mother, your grandparents, were they entrepreneurial?
You know what? They were. So that's a great question. I mean, you could go back to my grandma's brother. All brothers were all entrepreneurs. One of them started the wax museum there in Orange County. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. The other one, they also started a sleep aid
to
help people sleep. And then growing up, my mom had a silk flower business. So I think it came through my mom's line. My dad's a blue collar worker, and but my mom's side definitely entrepreneurial. So she would have the silk flower business. People come in, get flowers for their homes. Both of my brothers own water damage restoration businesses. So I definitely grew up watching people around me, go through this startup phase. Yeah. And one of the things that always intrigued me is that you could take something and that starts out so small and watch it grow.
Yeah.
And then I would say the second thing is just the independence and the freedom. Although it is not easy, but there is more freedom as an entrepreneur.
That's interesting. I was talking to a buddy I hadn't seen for a while, and he's not currently in business, but he loves it. He's an entrepreneurial mind. But anyway, he was telling me his dad had always told him that to be an entrepreneur equals freedom, and so in his mind he's like, I got to get there. And I'm like, I don't actually know. Like, there are. Like, I would never go back. There's no other way you'd see me working for someone. But at the same time, it's hard.
Absolutely.
And so I don't know. Sometimes I just want to, what I wanted to bring up was sometimes there's like this idea out there like, oh, start your own business. It's awesome. And you don't have to work for anyone. You control the schedule. You can work from your laptop on a beach in Miami. But when you get into it, you can get there, but that's years and years of sacrifice, suffering, and putting in hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting about this is, this was kind of in my blood. I can remember at 14, that was my first business. I went out and bought all these woodworking tools.
Okay.
And I would cut out these wood projects for these ladies in our congregation. And I would cut out just, little crafts and stuff like that. And that was the first business I ever did. So this is something that was like, inherent in my life. I knew I was going to start a business and had ideas come to me all the time. Me and a buddy started a carpet cleaning business. We were just too young at the time for people to take us seriously. But about 21, I went to work in a hospital, and I was running sleep studies on people. And so definitely was not doing anything as far as running my own business goes.
Okay.
And that kind of gave me my start in the healthcare industry, I guess you could say. But deep in my mind, I always knew that as soon as I had the right idea, I was going to leave that behind and go out and do my own thing.
And it's cool that you said that, because I was thinking, I think I've known you for about 12, 13 years or so. And I remember like 8 years or 10 years ago, you and I were talking. And at the time, you weren't doing business, but the way we were talking, it seemed like you were, because you just have always seemed to be fascinated and excited. Like, I feel like you get really excited, like, oh, I got this idea, and so
definitely passionate.
Yeah, passionate. So let me ask you this: so you're 14, and you start this woodworking business for people in your church.
Yep.
Okay,
exactly.
You're just custom making random whatever they.
Yeah, absolutely. So if they're having a craft night, for instance, I would cut out all the wood for a certain project, and I was really young.
Yeah.
But I can remember I laugh about it now. I had business cards made.
That's
and
awesome.
All this stuff, because it was just. Some people are passionate about sports. Some people are passionate about science. For me, it was business.
So even at a kid at 12, 13, 14, you were thinking, like, you knew it. You knew that you wanted to one day own your own company.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's interesting. A lot of people I've interviewed, it hasn't necessarily been that way, and a lot of that was because you've seen your mother run her silk flower, your grandma, your brothers. At the time when you were 14 doing this, were your brothers already in business? Because these are older brothers, right?
They are.
So were they also already like entrepreneurial, and you're just watching your older brothers just tear it up? Or
one of them was, and I'd go work with him, and he was. He would definitely work me to death, and I do remember watching him grow this business and having success. So I do credit, my brothers for helping me learn to work hard, my mom. But like you said earlier, I didn't want to work for someone forever, but watching the independence and the freedom they had just, drove me to one day own my own business.
did you also so that is absolutely correct. On one side, the independence, freedom, but on the other side, there's the sleepless nights, there's the stress, there's the weight of everything that folds on your shoulders. Did you see that as a 14-year-old kid, or did you just only see, ooh, I got to, okay.
And I think it's like most people that want to start their own business, it's, hey, I'm going to go start my own business so that I can have the independence, freedom, and money.
Yep.
And there's so much more to it that you don't see until you're in the thick of it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So at what point did you, so growing up in Orange County, you talked about the woodworking. Did you ever have any other ideas that you actually started and did business as ideas?
Besides that, we tried to do the carpet cleaning business.
Okay. And was this still in Southern California?
It was still in Southern California, and we did friends and family and whatnot, but we just weren't, no one took us that serious yet.
Yeah.
Other than that, I worked for one of those family fun parks, worked my way into fixing like video game machines.
Oh, cool.
So arcades. And while doing that, I found out that I could get these arcade games, older ones, some of the ones that we know, Pac-Man, stuff like that.
Classics, man.
Classics, right? I could get a hold of these for pretty inexpensively. And so I'm 16 at the time.
Okay.
about to turn 17. And one day I went out, I bought one. And I went out and I went to every convenience store you could think of just around my town and tried to get an arcade placed so that, I could make my cut off of this in a given location. And again, it just, at that age, it was hard for people to take you seriously. So I think, I was so passionate. I was driven to make something work, but I just, wasn't there yet as far as people taking me seriously just because I was young.
Let me ask you this. So with the arcade thing, you go out and buy, what did you pay? Do you remember what you paid for this arcade?
I paid about between $300 and $500.
Which is a big purchase when you're 16, and especially, back way back. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right.
No, you're not that old. But so you invested. You're like, I really believe I can do this. You put out some cash. You get the machine. Were you just like going to these stores and saying, hi,
I was. I would just walk up, cold call.
So, all right, let's talk about that, because a lot of people listening would go, wow, how did he do that? Like, was there any sense of fear in your mind at that time? Or like, what allows someone to just cold call someone? Because it's such a block for so many people.
Yeah, and that's interesting. And my wife and I talk about this. I'm the type of guy where I don't get comfortable until I really get to know someone, and then they really get to see Rusty for who he is. Yeah. So this has never been easy for me, but because of my desire to do my own thing, I just had to, jump that hurdle and just go for it. And so, picture me, here I am walking into a convenience store, guys at the counter, quick introduction. Hey, this is what I want to do. And I quickly realized that, hey, I'm not there yet as far as age goes. 16, probably need to be older than 18 to make this work. But
you did it. Like, so with all, so it wasn't easy for you. So
Definitely wasn't easy.
So that's it. To me, I love it, because when you said it, I'm thinking, wow, that's some guts. Some people are so persistent, but it wasn't easy for you. You just said, I feel passionate. I want to do this. And so I'm just going to do what it takes. And you threw yourself out there.
Absolutely.
Even though you didn't get the result you wanted. And then you went to the next
right.
place and the next place with a lot of rejection.
Tons of rejection.
Okay.
And that's a great topic in and of itself, is rejection. If you're going to go do your own thing, you've got to be ready to get rejected.
Yeah.
All of that I talked about, I think really prepared me for what I'm doing today. And we can go into that now or a little bit later, but people are always amazed that I can just walk into a hospital, a veterans hospital, and I'll start knocking doors until I get a hold of the right person to be able to show them what we have to offer. So right now, a lot of times I don't have an appointment when I go in and talk to someone at a veterans hospital.
Is it any easier today than when you were a 16-year-old kid?
I would say it's a little bit easier because people probably take me more seriously.
But is it still hard when you show up to this hospital and you're like, okay, I'm going to try to get some sales? Or
It is. And I was just talking to my brother about this the other day. I think in all my years of selling to the VA, I've only had one person that was extremely rude when they rejected me. Huh. And so most people are generally nice. Hey, sorry, I don't have time right now. You're going to get that one person that's extremely rude. You got to keep your cool and just keep going.
Can you tell me a little more about the headspace? So, because this is a tough situation for me personally. You're showing up, you've got to go in there and make a sale, whatever.
Yep.
You don't have any leads. You're just showing up. Okay. What is the thought process there? Is there a lot of fear going, whoa, you've been doing this for years, but is there a lot of fear and doubt and you're able to push it out? Or is it more like confidence? I know I can do this. Or is it just more like, hey, I don't care. I've been rejected enough. I can handle it.
Yeah. So even today, I still walk in with a little bit of nervousness. Huh. If it's someone that I've never met or some department that I'm trying to get inside the hospital and make a contact with someone that's a decision maker, I'm just used to it. Okay. I think my skin's growing thicker. I'm ready to get rejected. And honestly, it's not always just about making the sell that day. As far as sales cycle goes, I know I'm planting seeds. A lot of these sales won't happen it's funny, I'm finally realizing certain sales probably 2 to 3 years after first planting the seed of that initial cold call of walking in and meeting someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know that it ever goes away.
That's good to know. I mean, I don't like it, but it's good to know.
Yeah, maybe you get better at it though.
Yeah.
You know, you get better at getting rejected. If that makes sense.
Yeah. What was that? What was the real? Do you remember the nasty? Like, what's the nastiest thing you've had? Like,
so in these VA hospitals, a lot of times you're supposed to check in, or veterans hospitals, you're supposed to check in as a vendor, have an appointment. But the problem is, you kind of got to be willing to go where no one's gone before because you can't get people on the phone.
yeah,
And so if you're going to make this business succeed, it's not that you're being sneaky or anything like that, but you've got to go knock on doors, make cold calls, get a hold of the right people.
Find your way into the person that's going to make the decision.
Exactly. If you call someone on the phone, it's too easy for them to reject you. Yeah. So you need to make it hard for them to reject you. So in this situation, I walk into a hospital in California. It's kind of funny. I had my brother with me because I have 2 business partners, and my brother's out working with me. This is the first 3 weeks of starting our company. So when we first started, of course, this kind of rejection comes. I walk in, I didn't have an appointment, and this gentleman answers the door and just pretty much rakes me over the coals. He had a female in the office with him, and I don't know if it was a little bit of showing off too, hey, look at this authority that I have. And basically told me to get out of the hospital and that I shouldn't have been there without an appointment.
Wow.
My business, if I would have let that stop me, and if I would have always tried to have an appointment, it would have never succeeded.
Yeah. You'd be done.
I'd be done.
Okay.
So if I would have followed that advice, I'd be done. And so what I've learned from that is you've got to push yourself further and not be afraid of rejection or I think that's what I've learned in sales in general. You just got to go as far as you can with people. So
you say you got to push yourself further. Where's the line? So you get rejected at the door. There's like, this person's get out of the hospital. I imagine yes, you want to push yourself. You want to pick up and be better and go further like an athlete.
Yep.
But there's got to be a line somewhere because you're talking and communicating with people, right? Do you know when you cross that line? Is it obvious?
I mean, I think if that gentleman were to make a phone call to security and I was escorted out of the hospital, that's probably the line. Okay. I've crossed the line. Even then I can save myself, right? And say, hey, an apology is always good.
Yeah.
But and that's what I've learned. When I first started in medical sales, I was pretty timid and I was always worried about upsetting people. I was always afraid that, oh man, if I, knock on this door and I get in trouble, are they going to call my boss? Man, when I had the freedom of not having a boss hanging over my head saying, I'm not going to get in trouble because I own the company.
Yeah.
I went way further with it.
Interesting.
And looking back, my boss would have wanted me to go that far with it, selling for under him.
Yeah. So it's a mental block.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. So let's talk about the company. So, but so you get to Arizona. So you move, like you said, around 19, 20, 21, somewhere you relocate. Your family picks up and you go from Orange County, California to the Phoenix area.
Absolutely. So actually I lived in Bolivia for a couple of years.
That's right. You did a service mission for your church.
I did.
Okay.
I did. And then, which was an absolute blessing just because kind of changed my whole mindset about success and what success is.
From what to what?
I would say this may sound, hopefully this doesn't sound bad, but I served a mission in a very poverty-stricken country. Uh-huh. And when I was there, it made me really think about the opportunities we have here in the U.S.
Okay.
And so I thought, man, I need to take advantage of those. I'm living here in this country that's poverty-stricken.
Yeah.
These people here would love to be in the circumstances that I have back home.
Absolutely.
And so when I got home, I thought, you know what, you take advantage of every opportunity you have. And then I also had a leader in that mission who was very business-minded. He was actually the CEO of Lord & Taylor Clothing.
Oh, wow.
And so he also created a fire in me and a passion for business.
That's awesome. Cool. So that sounds like that would have a big impact on you. And so then you come back from that to Arizona, and all that's kind of prepped you. And then you get, like you said earlier, you were involved with kind of what got you into the medical field was doing some sleep research. At a sleep
So actually,
center,
testing for sleep disorders.
okay.
So I was living in Arizona. My mom's boss offered to train me and hire me. Now, keep in mind, my mom went to school for this.
Yeah.
So I get back and her boss says, "Hey, if you're willing to fly out to California once a week, we'll train you. And after about 3 to 6 months, you can be on your own and you'll be a registered sleep technologist." So I'd literally fly out to California. I'd sleep with friends, sleep in hotels, park a car at the airport. I'd work 3 nights and then fly back home.
Wow.
So it was, and this is another thing, I mean, and I think you could attest to this too, be ready for great sacrifices if you want to have success.
Absolutely.
And at the time I was young, I didn't look at it as a sacrifice, but looking back, it was exhausting.
Yeah.
But if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's moments, and it's those sacrifices really, I think that honestly I've learned it makes a difference between those that continue and those that give up. Because the biggest difference between anyone who's running a successful company or a company and not is really the grit, the willingness to stay in it when things are hard.
Absolutely.
So I agree. So cool. So you got to do that, which kind of fast tracked you into the sleep business.
Mm-hmm.
And you were there for about 5 or 6 years, or even longer. Actually.
Yeah, 7 years in total. So funny story there is I was working in California, and a company out of Arizona bought the company in California.
Oh, perfect.
And I was able to transfer to Arizona. Worked my tail off in Arizona, moved up in this new company. It was probably about a $20 million company, and I ended up working my way up into management. Mm-hmm. And so the reason I mention that is my wife and I talk about this is the whole time I felt like I was being prepared. There were aspects of that job as a manager. I learned operations. I learned sales. I learned, a little bit about accounting. And that job wholeheartedly, I mean, that thing prepared me for what I'm doing today. I'm trying to think, what else I could tell you about that. Just simple stuff. I mean, even learning how to use Excel and Microsoft Office products, those things that make a difference when you're running your own business.
Quick question on that. And I like what you said the whole time. You were being prepared for what you were going to do, because one of the biggest patterns I've learned interviewing people is it's a step-by-step process. Like you get to one step and you just take the next step and the next step. And I've talked about it. And that's often a phrase that I hear is like, it's like I was being prepared for this, in that moment while you were working for this company and dreaming of having your own company and being prepared. Did you realize you were being prepared?
Did
you have most people don't, but were you able to say, oh yeah, this will help me when I go to do my business because now I've got this skill?
So that's a great point. So no, I didn't realize it at the time. This didn't happen till about 6 months ago. I was sitting down at my desk. And at the time we had gotten some bad news that a lot of our products might fall under an exclusive contract. And we didn't get a chance to bid on this contract. So this was one of those downer moments as an entrepreneur. And literally this thought came to me, and it was just so perfect because it really kind of inspired me. And it said, hey, every job that you've held, everything you've learned has prepared you for this moment. And it was just real subtle, just simple. And it was like, kind of lit that fire back in me, be like, hey, everything's going to be all right. And that contract went away. So that was a good thing. But that's when I realized it was like, you're supposed to be here and this is what you're supposed to be doing.
So one of the questions I see a lot is how do you know if you're doing the right thing? How do I know if I made a good choice? How do I know if I should quit? How do I know if I should keep going? And you're saying you had this simple thought, every job that you're having now is going to prepare you for the future.
Yep.
How did that thought come to you? Was it just a matter of, were you just in the middle of something and you just, every job, you know what I mean? Can you tell me, do you remember that moment?
I think I was just having a search within myself. Like, am I in the right place? I knew I was in the right place because I wouldn't have even blazed this trail had I not had some sort of inspiration that, hey, yeah, you should chase this dream. And so it was one of those moments where it's like, hey, I need to confirm that I'm doing the right thing here. I mean,
Yeah.
I sacrificed everything, and now half my business or more might get wiped out.
Sure.
And so that was the moment that I was just kind of, soul searching, and that thought came to my mind. And that's basically what it was, that, hey, everything you've learned, every job you've held, the collective of those skills has prepared you for this.
Wow. So that, it seems like that thought, that moment kind of brought you a lot of peace and some understanding of, okay, I'm on the right path.
Yep.
I need to keep going. And you're right. Sometimes we are looking for that confirmation. Am I doing the right thing?
Exactly.
Is this what I was meant to do? Am I, yeah.
And, I think this is my personal opinion, is before I knew this was the right thing first, because I had had so many ideas in the past. And looking back, they always say hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
I knew some of them were dumb ideas, and it's like, whoa, what if I would have chased that dream? This was the first light bulb moment idea where it's like, hey, you can make this work. This is a great idea. And it was just so clear in my mind. And so I would tell people, first, before you do anything, make sure you have a great idea.
Okay.
And second, try to receive some sort of inspiration that it is a good idea, and this is a trail you should blaze, a path you should take.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
Real quick, that was just kind of an anchor for me. Anytime business got difficult,
You went back to that.
I always went back to that.
And I like what you said there. It was clear, because that's the biggest thing. It's like so many people have like I talked to a buddy last night. He's not doing anything with it yet, but he's got like 20 ideas. And it's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, how do you know which way to go? And so I love that you said it was just a clarity around this idea.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, that's it. This is the first one that's actually felt right. And so this idea is what we've been talking about, and it's called Built Medical.
Yes.
Right? And so you've got two business partners.
I do.
Are they both your brothers?
No.
Okay, one brother.
One is a previous coworker.
Okay.
So that's an interesting story in and of itself. If I can give you the quick history on it.
Yeah, I'd love it.
So about 2012, 2013, 2014. Interestingly enough, my now business partner was working for a company called DeVilbiss Healthcare.
Okay.
And I was managing a sleep disorder center. And he comes in, and we've never met, and says, hey, I think I'm moving. You have previous medical device sales experience. I think I can get you a job here. So anyways, I interviewed for this position at DeVilbiss Healthcare. I ended up getting hired. My business partner, his name's Nick Hilton. So Nick and I worked together for a couple of years. He gets me this job, like I said, at DeVilbiss. And it's going okay. It's a pretty good job. We sell to, the private sector. We also sold to the government. And we were selling respiratory devices. So about 2 years into it, DeVilbiss Healthcare gets bought out by a company named Drive Medical.
Okay.
And it's kind of crazy. When I was at DeVilbiss, I was going to go start a water damage company, just like my brothers. And Jackie and I went out. We started to prepare. We went out to Dallas, Texas, is where we were going to move. We sold our house. We went out there, spent a day there. And we in Dallas. Felt pretty good about it. We went to go look for some company trucks, some vehicles, and we just couldn't find anything. So we're kind of exhausted. We go over and get something to eat and get some lunch, and we start talking, and we're like, hey, do you really want to do this? Now that I'm here, I don't know. This just doesn't feel good. We took the steps.
Yeah.
And by the time that lunch was over, we decided
to
put that business idea in the trash can. We moved back home. I continue working for DeVilbiss Healthcare. DeVilbiss gets bought by Drive Medical. At DeVilbiss, we had about 20 reps. When Drive Medical bought DeVilbiss, they were probably only going to bring over about 8 to 10 sales reps. It's a little scary. I had to fly to New York and interview with the CEO of Drive Medical. It's like $1 billion company.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous. I've actually got to sell a device to them. I end up getting a job, and my new role is Director of Government Sales. And so I end up getting a job with them, and now all we're selling is, we switched from selling a lot of respiratory devices to wheelchairs, walkers, things such as that.
Okay.
Well, less than a year into this, I realized Drive Medical doesn't have a lot of stuff made in trade-friendly nations. And so I started getting this idea, like, man, if I could find a manufacturer over in a trade-friendly nation, I could go out and sell a ton of this stuff to veterans hospitals. So I talked to my brother. He's kind of the money behind the business. And I said, hey, we should go over. I'm going to start making calls. We had no clue what we were doing. So we start making calls to, different manufacturers around the world. And we get a hold of someone over in Taiwan. So we book a trip to Taiwan. We tour this manufacturing facility. Once we have everything lined up, I reach out to Nick, who originally got me the job at DeVilbiss Healthcare. And the reason I reached out to Nick was because he was just awesome. He was always our top sales rep.
Yeah.
Just absolutely killed it at the company. President's Club every year. And I thought, you know what? This is not an easy business. We need to bring someone on like that. So that's how the partnership formed. I reached out to Nick. Just like me, he's passionate about business, wants to make money. And that's where the journey starts. Up until that point, it was pretty easy, right? It was just an idea.
Yep.
But then the real work got started.
So you're in Taiwan.
We're in Taiwan. And
did you make a deal with the manufacturers in
we
Taiwan?
did.
Okay.
We made a deal with the manufacturer. Wasn't the exact product we wanted either.
Okay.
So that was a little scary. And the problem with the business that I'm in, it's very capital intensive.
Yeah.
Because it's inventory. So, you're spending at one point, one order, you're $40,000, $50,000 for one order. And it takes them 4 months to build product. So now, you've got to come up with a lot of capital.
Yeah.
So it was good to have my brother involved. And we're in Taiwan. We find the product we want. It's not the exact product, but we make do with it. And we're like, we can sell this. It's not the best, but we can sell it. Yeah. And so fast forward, 6, 7 months, I was waiting out. We were both waiting on a non-solicitation to expire from our previous company.
Gotcha.
So I had quit my job, found another job selling something for cystic fibrosis, like another respiratory product, and was waiting for this non-solicitation to expire. Well, during this period, we were getting prepped, right? We were going to Taiwan, getting all our literature done. And then in October 2017, my non-solicitation expired. And it was time to go to work. And so it was kind of crazy. We had all this product here now, and we had to go start selling. That's when it got real.
It got scary.
It got scary. And interestingly enough, and there's kind of a lot of information here, halfway through my non-solicitation period, I was working for this company, and they let me go. So now I've had to go find another job because I still have 6 months left on my non-solicitation. This will all make sense in a minute. I get a job. I put on LinkedIn that I'm looking for a job. Well, I have a boss that I hadn't seen in about 7, 8 years. He calls the company that just lets me go. Says, hey, the guy you just let go, I need to get a hold of him because I want to hire him. So it's kind of funny. This job lands in my lap within a week. And I go to work for this company selling sleep diagnostic sensors. The coolest part about this story is about a year into working for this company, I tell them, hey, I'm going to start my own business. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to sell to veterans hospitals. And the CEO says, well, why don't you stay on with us part-time? And when you're out traveling for your business, make some sales for us.
Oh, wow.
And so literally, now I have...
You got some income
I've got
in
some income
while
coming
you're
in.
growing the business.
While I'm growing the business. And that was the real miracle. This is where, these are those little signs along the way where you're like, whoa, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This just doesn't happen every day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So anyways, I go out and I think that lasted for a year to a year and a half.
Wow.
So that was a big deal.
That's a huge deal.
Yep. Yep.
Takes
Big
away
deal.
it takes away a lot of the risk for you because you can still. And so at this point, you're going out, so you're working part-time for the company.
Yep.
In the same area and just trying to sell the same places where you're selling your product.
Yeah, some of the same places in the veterans hospitals, and I would also sell the private sector as well.
Gotcha.
But it wasn't a difficult job. They had pretty low expectations, as far as how many places I had to visit and whatnot. But I will always, that company has a special place in my heart because really it would have been difficult without that.
That's amazing. And at the time you had, let's see, you're married, you have 2 kids, maybe 3.
Three
One on the way.
kids.
Okay, you have 3 kids, and you're traveling a lot, right?
I'm traveling every other week.
And
I'm
you're
on a
traveling
plane.
across the U.S.?
Across the U.S., so the entire West Coast, the northern states, all the way to Pittsburgh, basically.
Yeah.
Didn't really cover the South or the Southeast or the Northeast. So now it's time to sell. We go out and start selling. The thing with the government, too, is we were selling open market. And so the easiest way to sell the government is to get a contract with them. Yeah. We knew this process it was pretty arduous and took about 2 years to finally get a contract. Wow. So the first 2.5 years, we're not on contract. We're going out and saying, hey, this is our product. We're not on, and a lot of people turned us down and said, sorry, I got to buy off contract. So it was a very difficult process. About 3 months after selling, maybe 6 months, Jackie and I decide, hey, cash is getting tight. Let's sell our house.
Wow.
Take the equity out of it.
Wow.
So we go and we sell our house. It sells within about a month. Another side story there, the rental we find has it's a massive lot, has a massive RV garage. If there could be a warehouse attached to a home, that's the home we found to rent. So now we have
place to put all these products?
Wow. Saves us a ton of money. We're now living on the equity in our house. Felt a little more secure.
Yeah.
We used part of the equity to buy inventory.
Sure.
And this is kind of how our life has been for the last 2.5 years. I bought a van. My business partner buys a van. And we go and we drive these vans around the country. After about 3-4 days of traveling in the van and visiting hospitals along the way, we park at a main airport hub. We fly home for the weekend. Wow. And there was a time where for 4 months straight, I was traveling every single week. And it's a very lonely life. I mean, picture a guy out there driving around in this van. I brought an ice chest at first to save money and put all my food in there. And it definitely wasn't like working for another company where you'd get a, stipend every day for food. And so we were definitely bootstrapping it. And it was exhausting. It was a lonely life out on the road.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I could do it again. I didn't expect it to be that hard.
But are you past that part? So where are you now? So you're sacrificing, you're leaving your family, you're living this lonely life in a van, just trying to, and I think every entrepreneur has been in that point, that startup phase where we put it all on the line, and we move, and I've been through some very similar things, and it's hard and it's lonely and you want to break, but you get through it.
You do.
Have you broken through that part into the next phase of the business?
We have. So if this would highlight it, when I first started, I'd be staying at $50 hotels like Motel 6.
Yeah.
And now I can afford about $100 hotel.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Rusty, he's at the Days Inn, the Holiday Express. But you know what? We laugh. But you know what? That's what's up. Like, you don't. Yeah. It's understanding when you're making progress.
Yes.
And celebrating the small victories.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So to me, that's, it's funny. I'm not to a Hilton or a Marriott yet.
Yeah, well, not yet. Well, hey.
But it's definitely, it's gotten more comfortable paying all our bills now.
So that's what I was going to ask. So, I mean, you're talking getting equity out of your house. You're talking all these things. Has that that liability, that stress and risk, has that been minimized? It sounds like to some degree.
It has. So, our savings is increasing now.
Okay. Awesome.
We're paying our bills. So couldn't be more grateful. I mean, it's succeeding. And
That's awesome, man.
so it's been a fun journey.
Yeah.
And it would, one thing I would say is that work, looking back, has made it more rewarding. The sacrifice and the work that went into it has made it so much more rewarding.
And so, okay, well, and it's like mountain biking. Like, I'll go down the trails and I'll go to the resort and take it. I've done it. You take your bike up on the lift and you bomb down.
Yep.
But for me, I've got to climb, to enjoy the downhill. Otherwise,
Love
I'm
that
bored.
analogy.
Yeah. So where are you today? So we're 3 years into the company. The company is becoming more stable. Obviously, we've had this crazy pandemic, whatever you call it, coronavirus this year in 2020. But you're paying your bills, you're surviving. What is your day to day now? Because there's three of you. It sounds like you got a capital. Your brother's doing the capital.
He's definitely more of like a silent partner.
And then so you and Nick, is Nick out doing is his name Nick?
He is.
Is he doing what you're doing?
He is.
So making the same type of sacrifices he's been doing it?
Same sacrifices. He's covering the other half of the country.
If he were here, would his story be similar as far as, it's been hard, but I'm grateful for where we're at? Or
100%.
That's awesome.
And I couldn't have asked for a better business partner.
Okay.
Because he's one of those guys that just wants to grind it out, willing to make the sacrifices. And we both say all the time, we need to write a book because there's not even enough time to cover all the funny, crazy experiences that we've had on the road.
Oh yeah.
And, hotels that we've stayed in.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a bond we definitely share just because, he's lived this life.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
you're
great.
out of, are you still, so before you, like you said, you're leaving, you fly home for the bit, see your family, get back in the van. You're not doing that anymore? Or how are you?
Here's the deal with COVID, because we're selling to hospitals, a lot of the equipment that we sell isn't considered critical. And so we're not going into a surgery, right? We're selling walkers, wheelchairs, different things. And so what happens is a lot of the outpatient facilities have been closed and they're not letting reps in. So when COVID first hit, man, it was brutal. Our sales were down about 60%.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Probably, for 3 months there. And then last month, all of a sudden our sales popped and I would say had our best month ever last month.
So it's looking up.
It is. Yeah. It's looking up, and we hope that it will continue on that trajectory.
So tell me a little bit about, because I know we kind of jumped into the story, but we didn't really cover what your company Built Medical does. You've mentioned, obviously we know you're selling medical equipment, and you've just told us a little bit about it. But tell us a little bit about just Built Medical in 30 seconds. What is Built Medical?
Yeah, so Built Medical imports medical products.
Okay.
Mainly mobility products. So for patients that have issues with mobility, they're mobility assistants. And so that's the core of our business. We also have some comfort, probably less than 5% of our business right now, some comfort accessories for sleep therapy. So people that wear CPAP.
Yeah.
We sell that on our website and online. And then one of the things we do is we have a company called Carrier Medical, and that's our distribution arm. So we're the sales channels for other manufacturers across the U.S., and we sell products through our distributor, Carrier Medical. And so we sell to a lot of departments: physical therapy, neurology, sleep disorder centers,
Gotcha.
Lots of different departments.
What percentage, because you've mentioned Jackie, your wife, a few times, and it sounds like without her, it doesn't sound like you'd be where you are today.
110%. This is a conversation we have often.
Okay. Does she bring it up often?
She
you would be nowhere without me, Russ.
Yeah. She actually doesn't, but man, she is my rock. This business would not work if I didn't have that support system. I've been on the road every other week for the last 10 years.
And she's at home with the kids.
And, it's interesting. I look at past girls that I dated, before I met Jackie, and I always go through, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to handle this. Nope. Could have never done this business. So that is a key piece.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. If you do not have a wife that's supportive of you making major sacrifices to get your business up and running, it'll never work.
What's that like when you come home and you've been gone for a week and she's been home with 3 kids, cooking, cleaning, teaching now? Um, yeah, I just can't imagine that how odd the dynamic and the yeah. I just what's that like?
Yeah, she's never the one to be like, "Hey, you're home. Here's the kids. They're yours."
Wow.
She continues on, just as with the same interest that I have in the kids, and so she's never like puts more on me now that I'm home,
Yeah.
which is nice because it's, I think she realizes that, man, I've had a lonely life out on the road. I've been working all week on planes, living in grungy hotels,
Yeah.
and so it's one of those things that I actually look at COVID, believe it or not, as a major blessing because I haven't traveled for about 4 months.
That's awesome.
And I probably won't travel for 9 months to a year. It just depends. I personally don't think they'll let us back in these hospitals until we're vaccinated.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, this is such a blessing because the business is continuing to run and I'm able to spend some time with my family.
Do you see what is your big play here? Do you hope to build out and continue to grow Built Medical until it really just has some huge legs and just as this really substantial company move into other things? I ask this because I know you are always thinking about things, or is it like, is it just 100%? It's all about Built Medical, and I'm going to do it, grow it, retire it, run it, until I die.
Yeah, so I think my ultimate goal, first in the present, is to create as many products as we can and diversify the business. One of the things that we learned along the way is, and it's something we've had to do, is a big portion of our business is risky because of these exclusive contracts that the government offers.
Yeah.
So we've kind of learned along the way that, man, we've got to diversify. But I think
Diversify in products?
In products.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, in products. And also in industries, and then I would say diversify more into the private sector. So that's what we're trying to do now is say, hey, okay, we're in the government. Now we need to build our private sector business. But the ultimate goal, and I think for my business partners as well, would be to build this as big as we can, not work this forever, and then sell it.
Yeah.
And then from there, see what happens.
Okay, so let me ask you this, just to clarify for any listeners that are following and maybe not 100% clear. You said you diversify in products, and you guys are selling. We've talked about like CPAP products,
Yeah,
which is
comfort
a newer
accessories.
line. And yeah, but I also know. So I was on your site. You've got like a product called the Titan Roller.
Rollator.
Rollator, okay,
Yep.
and this bath bench. Can you just explain a little bit to someone who's like, I don't know what you're talking about?
Yeah, so think of it, mainly elderly people
Okay.
that have struggles with getting in and out of bathtubs, sitting on toilets, walking around their house, getting in and out of their car. We sell all the products that are going to help them, I guess you could call them living aids that are going to help them live a better lifestyle under those circumstances.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's one portion. That's really the core of our business. And then when we distribute products for other companies, as I had mentioned earlier, we sell neurology products and respiratory products and the sensors they use to diagnose sleep disorders that people might, have.
Gotcha.
So
Why are you? One of your on the website it says we're passionate about providing high quality medical products built for a better lifestyle. That's from your website. So in case you don't recognize it,
I
those are
do.
your words. Why are you passionate about this? Why?
yeah, I think first and foremost, I don't want this to be taken wrong, but a lot of product comes out of countries where the product is cheaply made.
Yeah.
And, people are buying it on Amazon, not knowing what they're getting. If you think about us, we sell to veterans hospitals. These are the men and women that have served and protected our country and given us freedoms. And so
We don't want them to have cheap products.
exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. So I think we're passionate about that. I also think there's so much to discover in the industry to help people with mobility that hasn't been discovered yet as far as being innovative. Right now, we're in the process of designing a new walker that I think will be game-changing, not only for veterans, but the public as well.
Do you see what's the rewarding part of this? Put the business part aside, Because, every company, there's the whole business, and we've been talking more about the business. And then there's the product, the service, and kind of the reward, the result, the moments that are like, this is great, this makes it worth it. And put the financial moments aside. Do you get to see people use your product and really have an impact on their life? Do you get to experience that? Or what are some of the highs of this company for you?
Yeah, so I don't really get to see the veterans. I mean, I'll walk through a hospital and it's pretty cool to see your product being rolled through a hospital and a veteran's using it.
Yeah.
I think for me is what we have in the coming in the future, where we're actually going to change lives. And I love providing good customer service.
Yeah.
Because one thing, when you work for a big company and you have a customer call and complain, it's on you because you're the sales rep, but there's so much red tape that you have to go through to provide the service that they need.
It's really frustrating.
Yes, absolutely. So for me to be able to be like, hey, John, call my cell phone. If there's something you need, I'm going to make it happen. That can't happen. I could never do that at a big company because there was 5 or 6 departments that I would have to, they'd have to I'd have to get their buy-in to make something happen. And now John can call my cell phone and I can have a product overnighted to him or a veteran like that.
And you're right, because you make it like a direct impact. It's just so simple in small business to pivot or to provide service that goes next level. Tell me this, what has been one of the best, and you've already shared some great lessons, but what have been if your son gets in, let's say he's 20 and he's right here, Dad, I want to start a company. What type of advice are you going to give to him as someone who's kind of been going at it now for at least 3 years with this project? What are some of the key things that you've learned that you'd say, oh, sit down, son, let's have this discussion? Or your daughter. I don't mean to say son.
Yeah, no. First thing I would say is be ready to make bigger sacrifices than you think you're going to make.
Okay.
Be ready to leave it all on the field. And the other thing I would say is one of the things that, I deceived myself with this is I thought I always had the stress hanging over me working for someone else. Hey, what if I lose my job? What if I don't perform this month as well as I should? What if my numbers come in low? So there was always that stress over my head. And I thought that stress would go away. And boy, was I mistaken.
Gets worse, man.
Yes.
Because if you don't, at least there was a boss before. Now you don't get paid, you screw something up. How are you going to feed your family?
Exactly. I mean, to give you an example, here we are on vacation, right? We're on the road coming up I-15, just had a beautiful day. And I get a call that a shipment didn't arrive and it's 2 days delayed. It's completely out of my control, but the customer's upset.
Yeah.
And so it's those stresses that you think, oh, am I going to lose this customer?
Yeah. What have you found to combat the stress? So you're going to tell them, hey, you're about to get a lot of stress. How do you deal with it? Or what have you found works and doesn't? Do you have any recipes or any magic for us?
I
still trying to figure it out.
Like I mentioned, I think I said the term earlier, thicker skin. I feel like very slowly, my skin's getting thicker. And but if you look back, and I think most people would agree, maybe 99% of the things you stressed about never came to fruition.
Huh.
And so maybe that's the best advice I could give is 99% of the things that you're stressing about will never happen.
Wow. They're all kind of anxieties or worries in our mind. But they're not real or truths that are existing.
Exactly.
And I agree. I found that to be true.
Yep. 100%. And I think, going back to, I consider myself a pretty spiritual person, religious person. Sure. And so for me, it's just knowing that, hey, this is a path. Before this even started, you prayed about, hey, is this a path I'm supposed to be on? And so that's the other thing is I always rely on that confirmation, on not just one confirmation, but multiple confirmations along the way that whatever happens. I just know I'm on the right path for Rusty Fife and for his family. And so I think that helps with my stress level as well.
So you're on the right path because of these little bright moments, confirmation times when you're like, yeah, that like you've shared, like there was a couple of things that just that they don't happen to real people. Like little miracles almost, like little just incredible gifts.
Yes, 100% incredible gifts along the way. And, I think they're given to you a lot of times in those moments of stress where you're not sure if you're on the right path.
Yeah.
And then that little bit of light comes and you're like, okay, I can keep going.
Yeah.
And so when you reflect back on all those, and I've used this term quite a bit, but it really does anchor you and say, hey, you're on the right path, Rusty. Just keep going. And that's really what's helped me.
That's awesome, man. I'm going to bypass. I only have a very few staple questions, but I asked one about your hardest moment, but I feel like we've kind of captured that. I feel like unless you can think of one in your head, I feel like you've just, it's been hard. It's been a lot of risk, a lot of sacrifice, but you've had these like bright moments of light and clarity that have just been gifts to you.
Yeah, 100%. And that's probably, going back to the advice that I'd give my children, it would be, hey, if you're going to do this, make sure it's a very clear idea.
Yeah.
And make sure in your own way that you receive your confirmation that this is what you're supposed to do, because that confirmation will keep you going when times get hard.
Awesome. You mentioned way, way back, you had a bunch of dumb ideas, and this was like the first one. You're like, this is it. Do you remember any of those that you can share that we can laugh at you about?
Oh man, this is kind of funny. At one point I reached out to my brother.
Okay.
And this is when, yogurt shops, those self-serve yogurt shops were going crazy.
Yeah. Like Yogurt Land, things
like
like
Yogurt
that.
Land, like that. I
Froyo.
thought, hey, yeah, Froyo. That's another. I said, let's go do one of these, man. I think this would do really well. And I look back and I laugh at myself because I think, oh my gosh, I would have never wanted to do that. I think it was just out of desperation of me wanting to be an entrepreneur.
Gotcha.
That dumb ideas can be born. So be very careful. And you see it all the time. I see it now where someone will come to me and they'll say, hey, I'm going to start this business. And I want to sit them down and talk to them just because not that I'm an expert, but I've blazed the trail and say, I think the most important thing starting a business is knowing how to sell. And there's that saying, if you build it, they will come. And I don't believe that in business. I mean, it's way harder than just building it and they will come. You have to go out and the sacrifice has to match the success that you want.
Yeah, and I like that, what you use that, because I see so many companies every day being built. Oh, like there's this idea like, oh, I can come up with an idea, create a social media ad. Next thing you know, I'm getting Instagram followers. I've got influencers, and then I'm on Shark Tank. I'm going to pitch the idea, make millions, and I'm done. If you build it, they will come. But you're right. So many times
that's like winning the lotto, right?
Yeah, that does. It happens, but we don't know anyone. Do you know anyone?
I know it's very select few.
It's so easy, like you said, to build a company and then go, now what? Because you can't sell it, you can't grow it, and it just sits there dormant. And I think that happens so often. So I like that you said the success matches the sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where and I'm not trying to get into politics here, but lately there's been a lot of talk about, millionaires and billionaires. And I personally have a different perspective on that. I think a lot of those people, not all of them, but a lot of them made massive sacrifices to be where they're at.
Yeah.
And they're being rewarded for it. And so I would challenge anyone, you can do the same thing in America. You can have the same opportunity. You just have to be willing to make that massive sacrifice.
Yeah, and that is such an issue, which I don't, to be honest, I don't understand it. I've actually interviewed on this show many multi-millionaires. And since I moved to Utah, I've been around a lot of them that I didn't have that experience in Jersey. And so I have found most of them, I say most because, there's never all or nothing, are some of the best people I know that have their head on straight, that believe in a higher power or a bigger thing than themselves.
Yes.
And have had amazing success, but are very humble. They don't go out and drive, whatever. You wouldn't even know it. And they're great people. So you're right.
Yes.
They're I don't understand it, to be honest. There's this like attack on the successful and the wealthy. And I can kind of see it where like, yeah, oh, wow, they have this and that. But as I've gotten to know people in that category, that's not what I'm finding. I'm finding incredible human beings.
Yes, and they all have a story to tell, right?
They all have a
Wouldn't
story.
you say they all have a story of sacrifice to tell?
Every one of them.
Yes.
I don't know, even the people that I've known that were born families with money, all of them have sacrificed a ton to turn that into something even more important or even more powerful.
Yep.
So, interesting. Well, let me ask you this last question for fun.
Okay.
What are you doing? Where, Not working, not working fun, building company fun, but like just fun. What is Rusty into? What does he like to do? You're gone all the time, so you come home with your family. What's fun to you?
So that's a great question. I would say the last 3 years, because I'm gone so much, it's pretty much all the time that I have at home is just being spent with the family.
Yeah.
I'm a big time family guy. I love spending time with my kids, my wife. And so we'll just do simple stuff. Lately I've been golfing a lot with the kids.
Okay.
With my boys. We'll go out to eat quite a bit. And other than that, we've been, especially with COVID, we've been kind of boring lately.
But but you've wanted that.
Yeah.
You've craved that. You've needed that.
Man, sitting down on a Sunday to play a board game with my kids is it's like the highlight of my week.
Yeah.
So I love it. And we'll go to the lake as well with friends and go over to friends' houses. But honestly, just time with each other where we can sit and talk and chat, watch movies, play games.
Yeah. Do you hope for your children to grow up and follow in your footsteps of building a company or be involved? Or have you ever thought about that?
Yeah.
Or do you just hope them to go to
man.
MIT, go to Yale, Harvard,
So it's funny you asked that. Jackie and I were just talking the other day, and I think maybe I was talking to the kids, but I said, go be a dentist, go be a doctor. Just, because I look back and I was always passionate about business.
Yeah.
But man, I look at some of my friends that are dentists or doctors and they're working 4 days a week. Again, they made huge sacrifices to get there. But I'm like, well, just go like make sure your future's secured instead of because when you go into business and you're trying to do your own thing, you don't know, especially in the stage that I'm in. I don't know where it's going to end up.
Right.
There's that uncertainty.
Yeah, you're just beginning. I mean, 3 years, you're just beginning.
Right.
We're all beginning. I mean, we want to last for decades, but
for my kids, I just think I just want to make sure their financial future's secure. But man, if they want to go into business, I stand behind them.
Yeah,
100%.
You'd be excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, just a little bit of a recap. There's some things you said that I've really enjoyed. You've talked about, just when you're trying to sort through good ideas, bad ideas, if you be still and you work hard for it, you can get some clarity and you can really pick the right idea. So for
100%.
Those that are listening, you talked a lot about this whole idea it's been a journey, your life, preparing you for the next thing. You feel like all the events that took place, the little jobs, the mission, all these things prepared you for what you're doing today and who you. And so then I wonder, what is what you're doing today? How's that preparing you for what you're going to do? You talked a lot about the sacrifice that you put into this, the risk, putting your house, leaving your family. There's been a lot, man. It's been quite a journey. So I'm excited for you. I hope that it goes the direction you want. But I think regardless of the outcome, and this is just for me, I've just learned to let go of outcomes anymore because we're not in control of anything.
Absolutely.
But regardless of the outcome, you have grown and learned the last 3 years, like next level. Like you can't buy this type of business degree or knowledge.
Oh, man, you make such a good point. That is, honestly, you can't. And if that's all I ever got out of it, I would find gratitude in that because where else would I have had that opportunity?
Yeah. Awesome. No, and I love it. So the website is builtmedical.com.
It is.
We're going to put a link below. Again, they're selling, high quality. Help me out here. I'm not good at summarizing.
Yeah, no.
Just
high quality medical products. So
medical
CPAP,
products,
comfort, accessories, and mobility devices.
Yeah. So if that's something you might need or know, be connected to someone in the medical field, a hospital, VA, anything like that, please share the word.
Yeah.
We'll put the link
Appreciate
below. And that's it. Thank you guys. Thank you, Rusty, for taking the time with me.
Thank you, Ete. I appreciate it.
Oh, man. It's been awesome. And thank you guys for tuning in. And we will see you on the next episode of The Company Next Door. Have a great day.